Oh, beautiful song, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
I'm glad
just
you liked
gorgeous.
it.
Is it Ghost of You?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Really resonated. I was like playing it over and over again, a bit like tearful because
Oh,
it's just exactly what you think.
thank you. Yeah, I wanted,
We
before we go on to that, like mine was just, I saw, it was my gran, and I luckily didn't have to experience it so much because I was out of South Africa. But every time I went back, and it was the hardest, was more how badly it affected my mother,
yeah,
and watching how heartbreaking it was, and just the weird, like this combination of disconnect. And I've always been very good at being like, oh, this emotion, like I'm not upset at you for this reason. It's because I'm actually think I'm a bit jealous, which is embarrassing to admit. Or,
yeah,
I was always very good at like kind of almost acknowledging this surface irritation and going, what is this really?
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
feel like I've always been good at that. And which makes
I'm
me
getting
sometimes
better
look,
at that. Yeah,
yeah, I think sometimes it makes you look almost more criminal in a way. It makes you look more hard, like, because no one wants to admit that usually the things we're upset about are often very stupid or maybe
and
not nice emotions,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that they're envy or jealousy or I'm just being spiteful. Actually, do you know what,
yeah,
because I was upset about this, and you realize that the root of some of your maybe seemingly more mature things are actually just quite childish.
yeah.
And so I've always been, I think, quite good at like boiling things down. And I remember watching with my mum and just watching some of those things, and just like, the things that people can't say, or watching the things that you're not allowed to think or feel in those situations, and that you do, and that people don't talk about as much, and how debilitating it is watching that confusing process.
Mm.
And I think like watching that, and a lot of people, and dealing with that, and speaking to the keys player whose mum has early onset. So she's
Wow,
like, I think she's 50s now, and she got it in her 40s, late 40s or something like that,
that's
which
awful.
is, yeah. And so Alzheimer's, dementia, it's all that kind of, for me, it's all kind of the same, because it's that loss of sense of who you are,
Yeah,
or who they are. Anyway, so yeah, so that's where that
I think
came from.
I think it does affect the people around them more in a sense. Like you kind of almost, if they're in their own little world, if as long as it's a nice world, you're kind of happy for them in a way, aren't you? But it's the people around them that are suffering. Like
Exactly.
weirdly, with my father, I actually have a much better relationship with him than I did growing up, because he kind of left when we were 8. My mum and dad split up. We didn't actually see that much of him.
Mm.
Very proud man, and I probably am a bit too much like my mother, so it reminded him of that. But since he was started getting ill, he kind of started, I think, assessing his life a bit more and working out what was important and what he. I think because he was in his past memories so much, he kind of
Right.
had to deal with things a little bit uncomfortable, and we kind of reconnected better.
Was
Which is
he, so did he know, did he get Alzheimer's or dementia, and did he know he was going through it?
it's dementia. I think he's in it now. He was a paramedic as well, so he
Right.
understands it a hell of a lot, which has made it harder for him. I think he's a very, very proud man.
Yeah.
So
So does
he's
he know he has it?
yeah, and
That's
he's
interesting. Yeah, sorry.
it's really quite hard to see that, because like even if we're talking away and then we go, oh, what's your name again? And you can see him getting really upset about it. And because he understands it more from a medical side of things, I think that's been really, so he's kind of he knows what's coming, and so there's that sadness in him.
Yeah, I think it's even worse when because I'd only really seen my grand's dementia and kind of half seen other things. But like now that even just the past 3 weeks of doing this care job with a lot of different types of dementia,
Yeah,
um, there's a couple where with my gran, I don't think she often couldn't connect to what was going on. Or if she did, she'd get angry and she'd
yeah,
almost mask over it. Whereas there's one or two clients where I've seen, oh, they like one guy, he's very aware, he has dementia, he has things around, and he goes, it's just that I forget things and I get so frustrated. And he noticed when it started coming on where he just was at a table and suddenly couldn't remember the words of what
yeah.
to say, and he couldn't get it out. And so that's almost, I don't know what's more heartbreaking, that, because that's hard to deal with, but it's almost easier because at least they're compliant, because they get that they're forgetting things.
Yeah.
Whereas with someone who's almost got that slightly more aggressive nature and they're not accepting it, you can't, they're still, the in-between process is hard, because you're like, you can't have a credit card because you're not with it. Sometimes you're with it, but you're too often not. You cannot drive because you're too often not with it. There's one lady who's now, I think she's gone the gaga side. She was, that's quite rude. I don't know if that's PC to say, but like she was, I mean, she's really lovely, but you know, she sort of didn't remember, like she was apparently resistant to care for a while. Like, but I've come in, she's new to the company, and like, as soon as she's left the gas on both times I'm there, like just had the gas on and didn't know how to turn it off. And so there's that thing where they move over to the side of not understanding how anything works and accepting it.
Yeah.
And accepting care. But I think the transition period is hardest when they're like,
But
I just forgot one thing.
Yeah, no, but he's just very resistant to it. I think they do need a bit of help. It's him and his wife there. But it's, you know, it's intense, and it must be really hard for her.
Oh yeah, no, it's very, it's tough to watch, and also it's tough for them because they're resistant to the idea. There's part of them, and when you've got all that going on, there's so much of them still there and so much of them not.
Yeah.
Even if
he had to stop. I think the big thing was when he stopped driving. That's when I was like, oh yeah, this is big now. So he doesn't drive, and he lost his dog recently, and he was a big part of his day, like the routine of it. So I think, and also having to deal with that grief every day. So you kind of like wake up, you don't remember what's happened, then you realise you've lost your dog again, and you're kind of having to relive it all the time.
Yeah, that's a really hard period as well, because it's like this sense of, but there is a point, you know, at which they go where they're completely in that weird land where they don't understand. And once they've gone a bit almost totally mad, as horrible as that sounds, it's almost easier because, like I said, you know, I can hope that you're in unaware bliss.
Yeah.
But when they're aware of it, and there's that fight between reality and this kind of land that they're in sometimes. When my gran went almost completely the other way, she was a bit happier. She didn't know she wasn't sleeping. She didn't know she wasn't there. She didn't know what, freak out about things. She would forget. But there's one lady who I care for, who I've gone, I mean, she's gone completely the other way. And you just say, I'll be back in 15 minutes so she doesn't get anxious, but you're not coming back. Another carer is coming later on, but like you have to say those things, and it doesn't matter because she's not there. But the other day I went and she was like, I woke up and I didn't know who I was, and it was the most terrifying thing. So she could remember that much, but she can't remember. It's so weird.
That's why I love the song so much. It's like unaware bliss, isn't it? That's what you hope they're in. That's what you hope for them.
And I was the line I wanted to bring out most, which is I think a lot of people don't want to say, but I think feel as, you know, death is cruel, but I think this might be worse. And not even just because kind of a lot of the time, like you say, they're fine because they don't remember, they don't know what they've lost, and they're fine. But you're also like, but you of however many years ago would be horrified if you watched now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things to go through, is you like, would they want to live like this? But they're in their right mind enough to not do that. But also, is this their right mind? Like this really complicated ethical and life debate. And I think that side of it isn't talked about enough, because we just go, oh, we look after everyone and they're fine. And, you know, the dementia and stuff like that but it's becoming more and more common that society needs to kind of figure out.
Yeah, totally. I think my dad's very scared of it, because I don't think he because he's so proud, he doesn't want to live like that. So I think he struggles with that every day. The more it gets worse, the more he's like, I just don't want this.
Yeah. And you're still part of you alive to, I mean, as horrible as it's to say, I've spoken to my partner's mum about it, my mum and my, like, you kind of just hope, it sounds awful, but assisted suicide is a real reality that I think should be a right almost that people go through, like that people have for their lives, because, you know, a lot of people don't want to live like that. And who are we to say Yeah, no, it's only going to get worse. So this
Yeah.
neurological disease, like I don't remember what it's called, but the one neurological disease where you lose more and more ability every day for 6 months. It's like
Yeah,
you're
because what
terminal.
people don't realize, it's not just the thoughts in your brains. Your brain's your brain's actually wasting away. So things are shutting down. So your body's systems are shutting down. Like with my dad, his eyes are getting worse and things, and that's all to do with your brain
Yeah.
wasting, basically. And people don't understand that. So it's actually shutting down your body.
Yeah.
In this really slow process. Is awful.
Yeah. And it's just, it's really like, I get that it's difficult, but it's just, yeah, it's such a complicated thing. Aging is quite terrifying in that way. And it's just like,
I'm just getting okay with that. I'm 41. Am I this year? 42 this year.
oh, I thought you were younger. You look good for your age. So well done. You're like,
Thanks.
oh, darling.
You're too
Go
kind.
on. Stop. Go on. No, but genuinely, and but yeah, it's definitely, it's an interesting thing. So I think I wanted to talk about that with that, and like these young animators did a beautiful thing. But what was interesting about this is that I haven't met anyone who hasn't been touched by it. Like, not everyone's had family with cancer. Not everyone's had family with, other illnesses. Everyone I know has had some sort of family member with dementia at some stage. Yeah, like I haven't met anyone who hasn't. So that was definitely interesting. But I think the coolest thing about this song was like, it happened. I was going to release it for running the Brighton Marathon in April.
Yeah.
Well, naturally that got postponed. I don't ever know why. No one can guess. But so when it did, I actually had more time to work on it and to build these things and it was really cool because it was the first time in my life that I focused effort on one place, and just a song had a purpose that was bigger than just listen to my music. I'm trying to create a brand. I'm trying to create this. And it was like, this is the point. I'm trying to make a song to make people feel better, make people relate to this, and to raise money. And for this charity, which is a good cause. And it's much easier to get behind that than get behind, listen to me because I'm great, or because
I'm a good singer.
Yeah, I was a good singer, but I know there's millions of better singers, and like, I know you, it's just weird. So that was quite nice. And because of that, we then had more time, and I actually spent a lot more time on the detail than I ever have with this track, with the production, with the mastering, with the animation, with the stuff, with the release plan and stuff. But then, of course, naturally, once that was done, I was like, and I can't carry this forward.
Yeah.
Something else I want to ask you is, just because it's something I'm interested in from any musician, there's always that originals and covers balance or battle or whatever.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the originals thing? Are you sad that you didn't go for it? What place does it have in your life, or do you wish it had?
I find that people are very judgmental about it. So if you're simply a covers band, you just want to do covers and sing because you love singing, you're kind of judged for it, and I think that's wrong, because there's so
when you say
much
that, you mean you think that's bollocks?
that's absolute shit, yeah, cack bollocks. Because there's so much amazing music out there, which created by people that aren't even alive anymore. So how can you just be listening to them do it? People love to listen to music, and it creates feelings in them, and it evokes things in them, and passion, and it's part of life. So to be able to do a song justice and take that to more people, I think it's a really cool thing. And if you enjoy doing it and you enjoy singing, but maybe you're not creative enough to write, you should be allowed to do that and not be judged for it. I do actually like writing. I had an originals band, Project Mayhem, project with a K. We should never have done that.
So 90s
branding.
noughties, yeah, just very.
Oh my life. And that was quite heavy. I always found myself kind of always shouting over everything. It was a great band with you guys. And I've done a bit of writing with Sharky, Richard Marino.
Oh yeah, he's
Um,
amazing.
he's great to work with. And he's really good because like I normally go, I've written something and it's always really, it's probably about a boyfriend, and he's going, yeah, it's quite literal, and he'll like turn it into something beautiful.
I'm going to try writing with Sharky then, because what I like about Sharky is Sharky's one of the few people I've seen who's managed to have an originals career, and I feel like he does,
Yeah,
without too much of the bull crap, and write
yeah.
great albums, but not like have it. I imagine it brings some income for him, but also
I would
just,
hope.
I would hope, yeah.
Yeah.
You never know with it, because there can be people on big tours who don't make money from it, who work at Hamburger Mary's or whatever it is. But like, he's done that really well, of just creating good material consistently-ish.
Yeah.
I don't know how consistently. I don't
It,
follow that.
it does so much. I don't know how he physically does it. Like he's just got that mentality. He is a creator, and he just writes some of his stuff's beautiful. I think, like his lyrics and stuff. I just think
Yeah.
how he phrases stuff and frames things. But also getting the best out of me was really. You should like write if he's got to do it, because
Yeah.
it helped me a lot, because I was very rocky, all about my rock, and that's kind of the stuff I'd written before. But I actually loved it. It was kind of more country and folk stuff that we were doing, and I really enjoyed that.
Do you know what I struggle with as a writer? And I don't know if you relate to this, because I love writing, and it's been a journey, because when you are young, you're like, I want to write my own stuff, because usually we're all creatives, and it's not that. I always love covers, and speaking to the whole covers thing, it's just, yeah, the whole judgment of it. And it's like, you wouldn't expect every business student or business graduate to start their own company. That's not, I mean, some people if they become a CEO of someone else's firm, or if they are a manager high up in an expensive, you wouldn't judge them and be like, why didn't you start your own company? Oh, you
Also,
sell out. It's like, just because we're not building our own business as an originals artist doesn't mean we're not a great worker, and it's not cool.
Yeah, also people like having a wedding, they can't afford to pay Adele to come and sing at it. So he's good. Like, there's a place for everything.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely, you wouldn't, the manager of a coffee shop, you wouldn't be like, oh, you don't own a multi-million-dollar firm? Oh, you should go and try for that.
I know I know a few musicians, well, quite a lot, that almost apologetic about the fact that they do covers alongside their original stuff. And I'm just like, what are you going about? It's just fun. It's a good way to work.
Yeah.
I'd rather be doing that than sat in an office. It's a great way to make it.
Johnny Coote is the keys player currently for Dermot Kennedy. So he's been touring all over the world, got mugs from the Ellen Show and, all the stuff, the Stephen Colbert Show. So doing incredible stuff. And he comes back and he'll do a 50 quid gig at Cass's on an instrument, because it's fun.
Great.
He doesn't judge it, doesn't, like, there's no, oh, it's covers. It's like, no, it's music.
Yeah.
It's effing music, and it's great. And you can be, in some ways, you can be more creative with covers, because you're not beholden to serving. I mean, yes, you're beholden to serving the song, but actually you're there to entertain. So if you want to do a, weird version or a reggae version of this one, you can. If you want to.
And it's not so much pressure. It's a lot of pressure when you're doing your own stuff. It's the vulnerability of being on stage with your own stuff is epic. It can be.
Because you're trying to say, like me. You're not going, exactly. I know this is going to work.
I could deliver a cover, really sincerely and really honestly, and really, like, I'll deliver that amazingly. Yeah. My own stuff, I'm a bit like, I've written a song, here it is.
It's weird. I find the difficulty with original stuff is I struggle to do it, because I felt like when I was doing original stuff, it was about me, or I didn't like doing that. I'm like, no, I like making it about them. I know you like Valerie, so if I play that, it's great, because I know you'll dance. I know you like it when I play Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay with being vulnerable.
Yeah, but it's vulnerable, but also I don't like selling myself, and maybe I need to be better at that. But also, it's cool to accept that I don't like doing that. And
I'm terrible at it.
I disagree with that. I don't think you're necessarily terrible at it. I think you could be good at it. You just don't want to be necessarily, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I could sell someone else and talk about someone else. Having to do it about myself, hate it.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's not that you can't do it. You just don't like it. You feel uncomfortable doing it. You could do it. Yeah. And we feel uncomfortable, so we choose not to. Now, we could choose to, if we wanted it that badly. But this is something that I think is not told to young musicians a lot. Me and Sam talk about a lot, is that to be an originals artist, you've got to give it your everything for not just a year, not just a few months, for years and years and years, to one product, to one brand. And like, there's only, you can shift and stuff, but you've really got to dedicate to the long term and sacrifice to the long term. And you've got to be willing to make that sacrifice long term without necessarily the guarantee of payback.
Yep. Totally.
And that's the difference. Whereas if you set up a good cover band, you're likely to get payback fairly soon.
Yeah.
You know, if you're decent, of course. We've got to be a certain standard. Or throughout, there's got to be a certain level of work and ability. But, you know, whereas, and I think that's not sold enough. It's like, this is what the reality of your life look like. Here's some semi-successful bands that have done all the right things, but they're still not making a great living from it.
I think a lot of that also comes from how the media and everything sell things now, and shows like X Factor and The Voice, all that kind of stuff. It's everybody wants stuff instantaneously. Even like the way my son, who's 3, listens to music, he'll get my Spotify open and he'll like listen to the first bit and then he'll skip to the next one and he'll skip to I'm like, no, can you listen to the whole song please, it's beautiful. And it's like instantaneous consumerism. And I think that people, especially young musicians, are seeing that and seeing, oh, I just need to go on that show, or I just need to go on Facebook and get a few likes, and then it's like boom, done.
Well, I think it's that often as creatives, or anyone really, like you say, it's that instant feedback. And I remember it always stuck with me. There was a guy talking about his wine channel or something, and and someone was interviewing him and saying he was classed as an overnight sensation. And he said that always really annoyed me, because yes, it was within a very short period that suddenly I went from very small viewership to this monumental viewership and got these big deals and stuff. But he said, but every weekend for the past 5 years, when people said, are you going out? I said, no, I'm staying home and making this video. And he made it consistently every week. And yes, the rise to popularity came within a week, but the dedication was there.
Yeah.
And I know what I realized about myself is that I don't have, and it's the struggle endlessly with the whole originals thing, because I love writing music. I love it. But I'll write a different genre of song every week, every day, every hour.
Yeah, totally.
And
totally.
I think it's why we love covers, but it's because we love it all.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost, it's a blessing and a curse, because you're like, I can't
I
myself.
always say that. I always say that, blessing and a curse.
Yeah, because we're like, we love everything, but it means that, you know, like Richard has been consistent with his countryish style, which I think is what makes him well, would make him grow, will serve him consistently. Is like, we can't do that, because we're like, we want to sing a bit of rock, a bit of this, bit of that. How do we sell ourselves if we're everything?
You're so oh my goodness, it's like someone gets me. I actually don't tell anyone this, but everyone's going to hear this now. But I did an audition for, which one was it? I think it might have been The Voice. I'd just come home. I think I'd broken up with someone. Oh, it was after the Hong Kong debacle. Yeah, broken up with someone. I thought, my mum was going, why don't you try this? It's, you know, they're doing the auditions. You can't hurt, can you? And so I went and put myself forward for The Voice, and you have to learn 3 tracks. And so I took 3 backing tracks, and I didn't get past the first round. And I was just like, and so I thought, what did I sing? I think I chose What's Up, Falling on Blondes, because I thought that's just easy to sing without a backing track, and they just wanted a bit of just, what is it? Why can't I get my words out today?
It's fine. It's
a cappella singing a chorus. So I did that, and they seemed to love it. And then we got a call back, and because I'd chosen What's Up by Falling on Blondes, I think I'd done a Bruno Mars song and maybe Adele or something. There was 3 very different genres. It was, but I was dressed quite rocky. Yeah, I had blue hair at the time, and yada yada yada. So then when they brought us back, they were like, "Oh, they said, oh, there was an amazing vocalist in here, but we couldn't work out who she was or what her genre was. So we'd love you to like go away and work on it and come back." Looking at me, so I came out and I was like mortified that I'd not even got past the first round. And I sat in the car, like, what the like, what's just happened? Why do I need to be in a certain genre? And it's purely because they need to pigeonhole it for what they're doing. So they're making a TV show. But at the time, I was just like, I'm obviously not very good. What's going on?
Oh,
And
yeah.
thankfully, that night on the way home, I got a text saying, "Are you available for a gig?" Someone just pulled out of a gig, and it was like a wedding gig on the way home, because it's Birmingham to Leicester. And I went and had the best night. I hadn't learned any of the tracks. I didn't know what tracks they were doing. We just kind of went off with it. And I was like, oh no, I love this. I need to not be so hard on myself.
And like also just remembering, oh, I'm good at this. Like I'm good at this, and I'm good at this environment, and I'm good at adjusting. And that's the thing. Often for those shows, they don't necessarily want professionals. Like,
yeah.
And even so, when you listen to original music or you hear a voice, it is often the most individual voice that sticks through. I'd argue that I do think you do have a great tone. You do have an individual voice. You don't have, like, from what I remember, you don't have that typical function voice where it's a bit like it lacks personality almost.
Yeah.
So there's a thing where you have a tone that can be variable, but there are certain singers who they don't sound great singing everything, but you just like that tone I'll recognize anywhere.
But I love rock, and I love all the pop stuff that we do on our contracts, and I look like all the Sia stuff, which you think I'm never going to hit that note, and you do, and it's like, oh.
Okay, I don't. So, well done you.
So, and in the original stuff, that kind of flows through into that. I'll never write the same genre twice, I suppose.
And you'll write what you're listening to, and if you listen to loads of things and love loads of things, look, and I just, it all comes down, and I think this is, again, it's like, I don't know whether it's self-development or me just getting on my high horse and then not being able to live by it, but is that, I think, or it's just me backwards logicking excuses, is that we've got to recognize what realistically we have to sacrifice to maybe go down a certain road, and whether we actually want to. What are the parts we enjoy about something? And what does the reality really look like? Not the Facebook life, not the accolades, not the this. What does the reality really look like if you're going to dedicate your life to being that artist? And if you don't want to be a walking brand, how do you then brand yourself? Like, if you don't, or if you want to have the flexibility to do different things, how do you brand and sell yourself? And I'm still like traversing through that, because we did an exercise which is like a branding experiment, because now I do think like people follow personalities, they like people. And I believe I like the long form podcasts, I like learning, hearing nuanced conversations, but it isn't as sellable. So then how do you sell yourself? How do you give yourself that one liner that makes you individual? Individual but interesting. And you're like, I don't. So it's an interesting experiment with that. But like, I think I've just realized down that originals road is, okay, how can I find a place for writing music in a context that, that I can manage, that I enjoy the process of enough, but I can either make financially, creatively, somethingly viable. And that's my big journey with BIM as well, is like, as well as any, band leading a band is hard. Band leading an original project is even harder. Trying to write with other people, like, you've got to find that the writing works, but then the management doesn't work. This works, but that doesn't work. And it's a nightmare. And I got these guys who we played a cover song together just for fun at BIM, and then they were like, oh, let's do some originals. And then I found writing it, and I was like, this is the way I want to do it in my life. I just want to create cool things that I've created a thing and then it's done. And I'm not necessarily going to be the person in it for the long haul, like pushing for everything, doing all the social media plans. I don't want another band name that I've created every profile for, and then it dies within a year, which is naturally exactly what's, and it's, I think that's what a lot of young people do, is they're like, there's a new band, everything. And then it changes, or someone gets a girlfriend, or this happens, that happens. And it was realizing that I'm not necessarily that dedicated to original music enough to do that long haul with it. So how can I find a place for it? And I think that's a journey a lot of, especially covers musicians, are trying to find. Because I think a lot of covers musicians are incredible musicians, like, and have really creative stuff, and finding a way to either do sync music or do, write for, that library kind of stuff, or a producer to work with that you can just do top lines, or that's, I think, a journey we're all going through, is finding what environment
that's kind of the exploration I'm kind of going on at the moment, and part of that is for the group, so I can be able to help people navigate that. So I'm kind of looking into all that kind of stuff at the moment, because there are a lot.
Hold on, pause for a second. I really need to wee.
No,
Hold on, wait, I'll be back. I can cut this out.
These are hurting my ears. I've got funny ears.
No,
I had in-ears
headphones are always
made.
crap.
I had in-ears made, and even they were a nightmare because I had like 3 drivers put in them. So they like took the molds from my ears, but when I got them back, they still hurt.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't had custom in-ears done because
I just don't like them.
I bought a really nice in-ear pack. Also, I've been notoriously bad at looking after equipment, which is, when you're doing contracts, is harder, but also in hindsight, ADD doesn't help. But yeah, I had this, and I could never get on with him. Even though at wedding gigs, I really struggled to hear myself because we had crappy monitors, and just live sound is hard when you're next to your drum kit.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to get your voice loud enough. But I had in-ears, and I jump too much on stage. If I'm not glued to a guitar, I'm jumping, I'm running around and stuff like that, and it just falls out, and I sweat, and it's
annoying. Also, I think it takes away from the interaction with the crowd. I always feel like I'm cut off for it. And one of the bands I was in, the guy was always like, you need to use your in-ears, you need to use your in-ears. And I was like, I don't get that same feeling from it. It disconnects me, and I don't like it.
It does cut you off, and it's so...
Shouldn't say that.
No, you should. I think we should talk about it as musos. Like, it's normal to go through that. Like, even I think Sam watched a thing where Bombay Bicycle Club said they went on in-ears and they didn't like it as well because they felt disconnected. But they said their singing was just so much better, their harmonies. So they tend to do one ear in, one ear out, which I
bought ones at the time that had like a microphone in it, so you could get an ambient sound.
Right.
But when I bought it, they hadn't done the pack for it, for the ambient sound. So by the time it came out, I'd already gone, I just can't be arsed.
Yeah,
I think 700 quid they cost me at the time. And that was
they cost a fortune. They cost an absolute fortune. And like the whole argument between drivers and stuff like that. And you're like, on a live gig, am I listening to that detail? I don't know. Can I hear it? And does it matter if I'm singing the perfect harmonies if I'm not hyping them up? They're too drunk to bloody hear it.
Exactly.
It's a weird one. But sorry, you were telling me about finding a place for original music within your own life. I feel like I want to write stuff. I want to write songs. I've got stuff that needs to come out of me. So and I just haven't for a long time. And I don't know, it's kind of not, I think life got in the way, or there's just been so much that I've been dealing with. I haven't made the space to do that. Like, I'm just kind of getting into a bit of journaling, which is quite interesting, and trying to be like saying the positive things that you're doing every day and what you want to improve for the next day, that kind of stuff, just to kind of get my mindset better. Yeah. Because it can be really easy to just, like, you're just going through the day, oh, I need to do this, oh, I need to do that. I've written a to-do list that I've still not done, and I've just rehashed that every day. And I'm woken up at silly o'clock in the morning with my little one, we're getting up now. Yeah. But then I'm going to bed late because I want to get stuff done. And like, I'm learning about time blocking and all that kind of stuff, trying to just make positive steps to be able to be more creative and allow myself the time to bring the music back into my life, I suppose. And I'm getting to the point where I don't want to be doing the microblading and stuff in the day. I want to be spending that time on music.
Working in the music side of thing, but trying as a mother, I have the responsibility that I need to make that work in a monetary fashion, because I've got to provide for my son.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, at the moment, I live between my mum and my brother. And I need to, like, provide a house, a more stable environment. But I also owe it to myself to do that in a way that is beneficial for me as well. I think very easy to lose yourself in what you need, like, especially as a parent now, what you think you need to be doing.
Oh yeah, having that responsibility is so confusing.
I was never good with responsibility beforehand.
I think it probably can be quite rooting because you've got that. So it's like, I have no choice but to make a plan,
It's definitely a focus.
But I do think that makes it even harder to be like, no, is this selfish or is this the right thing to do?
It's difficult to explore things as much. Kind of, you want to instantly know it's going to work, which doesn't. So it's kind of finding the balance with that. And I also want him to see me doing something I enjoy and being proud of a mummy that does what she, you know, has a conviction to do what she wants to do. So that's a big thing for me as well. I don't want him to see me just doing something for the sake of it.
I think it is hard as a person, as creatives, we tend to, and like you say, as we tend to enjoy most things, we can find enjoyment in anything. So it becomes hard to choose. And even with this, and I'm so glad to be doing this podcast again. I love doing these chats, and I'm loving it.
Can we do this every week, please?
Yeah, sounds great. I'm happy. But you know, and I think even with Cover Monkeys, I did it fairly consistently for quite a long time, and I learned. Thank you, but I couldn't manage the consistency of it, and I haven't done a podcast in maybe a year. And I had some really good content. I was enjoying doing it. It's not that hard to do, but like to consistently put my energy into one space, and like you say, without knowing how to make money from it, without having, like you say, a guarantee, or just being like, oh, but I like doing lots of things, so I want to do all the things, and then I'm bored of this now once the challenge goes away.
For that. Terrible. I trained as a plumber. I'm a makeup artist. I'm now a semi-permanent makeup artist. I've taken weddings, like perform weddings, that kind of stuff. Everything. But a lot of that, and this is like one of my big things at the moment, which I'm trying to, when I do the mentoring thing, I want people to understand is that music is a proper job, can be a proper job. Because all my life I've been told by various people, you need a backup plan. It's like, and if I'd have put more energy into my music and not gone down all the other routes, I'd have been probably much more successful. I mean, I've been a successful musician, but I probably would have made a bit more money maybe, or taken it on a different route. I'd have definitely started the contract work early. I was quite late to the game with that. I was there. What was I when I started contract? 33.
Right. But I do think you almost appreciate it more, and you're more mature about the way you tackle it because you appreciate it.
Maybe,
yeah. Young, you don't necessarily know. I mean, it was such an emotional endeavor for me because, and it's the same as going to studying. You could say I'm late to the game studying at BIM, but you know, going there at 27, I'm now
so exciting.
Oh, it's been awesome. Like going there, everyone says, oh, dealing with the young people. No, it's inspirational. And also I can appreciate the education more. I appreciate the teachers. I don't mind what they've done. I know what's valuable is what they're imparting to me. And the personal touch. I'm not there going, oh my God, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Woohoo. You know, oh my God, I'm free from my parents. No, not gigging on the weekends. Well, until now. But yeah, like I'm like, cool, practice this. And it did help me find the ADD thing. But I think most musicians could benefit. There's a channel called How to ADD. Okay. So life-changing, because whether or not maybe you have diagnosable, I think all musicians have a touch of it. It's just a creative gene. It's why, because creativity is inertly impulsive, and impulsivity is a big condition. And so I think a lot of the time it's, what I realized is like a lot of the time it doesn't get detected in women because women present it differently, as they care more. So often they'll still do well in school because the system and structure is there and they respond to that pressure or whatever. Or if you're more intelligent, you're more likely to detect it later in life. So because I did well in school and because I did well in that educational environment, or because I chose a creative career, there was always something masking that, because I could do the pressure thing, or I could do occasionally 6 hours focused practice, but then not be able to practice for a month. Or if I had 50 songs to learn, I could learn them, but give me one song to learn, I struggled. And now knowing that, I'll give you the links. Have a look, because it's been fucking life changing. And I think it's kind of weird because now I see it everywhere. I'm like, maybe you have this, but it's also, I think it's just so common in musician circles. And it's common in the world because we're in a world that makes ADD worse, because
it's also hereditary, isn't it? Like you get people in the same family with similar ADHD, ADD, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, ADHD and ADD are the same. It's just
everyone keeps telling me my son is, because he is just like a little whirlwind, and I just think sometimes I'm like, he's just an energetic child, and then sometimes I think he just doesn't.
I'll send you the links. It's difficult because often a parent gets diagnosed when their kid gets diagnosed, and then they find out, because it's not necessarily all bad, but it is. Now knowing it gives me a lot.
I also have ME as well, though, so that's like the opposite side of it. So sometimes
do you have
no energy?
Yeah, I have a friend with ME. That's horrendous. That's not.
It can be. I manage it quite well now, but there's been points where it's been just like, what the there's no way I'm getting out of bed. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I mean, I've not experienced it, but it's horrendous.
That'd be interesting if you've got the two. How does that work?
Well, the thing is, ADD just comes with a lot of overwhelm, and like everyone gets it. So the problem with ADD is a lot of people don't realize it because they relate, because everyone goes through it. Yeah. And they're all things like anything. Everyone gets a bit down. Everyone gets a bit this, but depression is characteristic that you cannot get out of it. And until you see the real thing, you're like, oh, I don't have it. So with ADD, and especially as entertainers, I think we're able to mask it more, or people go, oh, she's just creative.
Yeah.
Oh, she's just, and with me, because I was always losing things, but I was always moving. I was always doing things that no one else related to. I was always immigrating. And I was like, well, immigration, you're going to lose things when you don't have a stable. But then when it was, especially considering I was going to BIM, so I had the structured environment. I'd lived in the same place. I hadn't lived in the same house for more than like 7 months, I think maybe 8 months max, for 7 years, my entire sort of adult life post uni. And I'd always lost things as a kid and as an adult. And that was just who I am. But Dad had always done it. He'd always struggled. Mum had always done it.
In a safe place. Yeah.
Yeah. Put it in a safe place. And you go, I fucking tried. And I can't. And I remembered I just couldn't. It was like, after living here for a long time, I didn't have any big excuses. Because like I was always going through adjustments. And I was like, I've always felt like I've always been like, this is the thing. And I've been like, but this has always been the thing. You know, I'm like, but I'm moving, but I'm this. There was always an excuse, and everyone goes, oh, I once did that. Or they, you know, I surround myself with friends who would always find my keys for me. And then a friend sent me these videos, and I was like, that's me. And I started sobbing. I've always looked at things online, been like, am I bipolar? Am I this? Am I that? Am I like, and you always look at them and you go, no, that's not me. That's not, I relate to some of those things, but it's not me. The ADD thing, I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I was like, that's me. And like, of course, I don't relate to everyone's experience of it, because like autism, you have your kind of one area of expertise. But it was just, it explained a lot of things for me. And so the overwhelm and the inability to be consistent is part of it. Now, whether someone's fully diagnosable, I think all creatives have that. It's that I like everything. Look at the shiny things, and to consistently devote yourself. Some creatives, like we all have, ADD also comes with hyperfocus. So a lot of people will have that hyperfocus on one goal, so they can then do that online, or they just develop that discipline and they do it consistently. For me, I've
to the detriment of other things around them, though, I imagine.
Yeah, 100%. And everything comes with its drawbacks. But like, learning that has made me realize, like, even with this care job, I was like, I'm now aware that I function well in the high challenge period.
Yeah.
And I can learn. You know, I might struggle, and there might be things, there's definitely things I'm bad at, and you know, not natural things. But like, especially because I'm a person who, throughout my whole adult life, I sometimes forget to put on deodorant. I don't have a routine, not because everyone says you just need a routine. No, I can't have a routine. I can't do routine. I'm not good at it. Like, I try.
I have to for my son, but I really find it challenging.
It's challenging, right? And as soon as I took the first day of medication and I lay out the laundry and I tied my shoelaces, this is one I use a lot. I remember being like, this doesn't feel exhausting. It used to, tying shoelaces used to feel like, fucking just get on. And like now I could be like, oh, it's just, I've just got to tie them and tighten them and, and taking them off. I've just got to loosen them in an order. And like, it didn't solve everything and it started to wear off a bit. But I remember just being like, I don't need to have a podcast going while I do the laundry immediately.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can just lay it out and I'm not trying to finish it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm not in a rush. So there were a lot of things, but like knowing that, okay, in this care job, I'm going to function well. Actually, the harder it is. Everyone's like, it'll get easier. I'm like, the problem is once it gets easier, that's when I'm going to existential crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whereas with music, okay, occasionally that'll happen, but usually I can make it stimulating. And my, probably similar to you, the aim is the interaction. What way can I get them more involved? What way can I change this? What? And so, yeah, I think that's a lot of creatives' problems, whether it's, like I said, whether you need treatment or want treatment, or because there's positives to being that impulsive.
Yeah.
But I do think it's like what people need to be focusing on is not what can I do right now with all of my energy. It's like, what can I consistently do for the rest of my life? And then that might lead you to the fact that, oh, I can't consistently do anything, right? Unless I have to, right? Okay. Like I need help. Either
So
therapy.
the place I'm at right now is really interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to send you this link because I don't know. I just feel like I'm just constantly going to people now. I think you might have this. And I don't, because I realize half my girlfriends or any of the people I've connected to strongly over the years, it's because we relate on a lot of these elements.
Yeah.
And my sister was the one, and my sister's always been a bit more, she's odder than me, but she's also been a lot more normal. She's maybe less airy fairy than I am, or less moving about all the time, but because she's been a consistent programmer all her life. But what I didn't realize is a lot of what we related to was the overwhelm. And she was always really impressive to me because she could do things a lot more consistently than I could. But what she said later in life, because she got diagnosed before me, and she said the thing that stood out to her, she was like, how can I be really, really good at my job, which she is, but also really bad at getting work done? She says, because I look at all the people around me and those good at their job are good at getting work done.
Yeah.
And she was like, how am I this? The difference is in our field, it's very normal to be that way. It's very normal. And the thing I'm noticing, and that I think is the ADD trait that's common, is people who want really badly, and they do put loads of effort in at different times, but they can't keep it consistent, or they just get so emotional and they can't do it. And it's not a don't want to, it's not a laziness. There's some people you can see, oh, they're just lazy. They just don't care enough. There's some people who I can see care really fucking badly, and they just, there's that block.
I agree. It's the overwhelm. The overwhelm can be massive. Also, this thing that, like, what is I find interesting is people always think I'm an extrovert, but actually I might not be an extrovert, because after a gig, the thing I want to do is go home and be on my own. There are times where you want to go, like, carry on the feeling now and carry on partying, that kind of stuff, but a lot of the time I want to go home and chill and just like get really into it again, because you put yourself out there, and it's like I literally get overwhelmed by it, and it can be, and you get that, oh, it's fine, and you can be having an amazing time, but you still get to that point where you're like, I just need to go home now.
So I don't know if this is, I felt this with not a lot of entertainers, but I certainly have found a few that agree with me that if you're sometimes quite not empathic, like I never want to say it, but you feel people's emotions around you, whether you're right or wrong, I don't know. I'm sure I'm very wrong most of the time.
Take on people's feelings, I think.
Yeah, you do. So you're very, like, if you're a frontman, especially an interactive one, you're watching the whole time. That person clapped along to that person didn't enjoy that person was getting there, right? Okay, how do we get them more involved? They're gonna say yeah, or they might not, and we get it wrong sometimes, but like, this is what they want, let's try get them on board. My brain is permanently, even in this care job, and it's so bad because I need to remember to put on fucking deodorant for them, but my brain's going, how can I make them laugh? And it's like, just fucking remember their shoes, or to put the brakes on the commode. Like, that's what you need to do. The whole time I'm making breakfast, if I'm being quiet, I'm like, should I be singing now? Should I be, how can I make them like me? just so fucked up. But what that does is when you're on a stage, it's like, it's we live for it. It's there. It's on. And then you're just like, right, I'm done. I'm exhausted from this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy. It's a lot. And it's great because we have an overdrive button. I've always called it that. And I have another teacher who sang, her name's Elliot May. And she sang, boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. Say the boom, bang, bang, boom. Do your thing, make my body. You know that bass on jack. Yeah, so she was that. She sang on that track. That was her. But she talks about the overdrive button and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I think this is what part of ADD is, that you can hyper focus. Yeah. Problem is, like you say, it detriments everything else. You cannot function afterwards, or you really struggle. And then all the emotions come out afterwards or whatever. So it's great. You can turn it on. When you're on stage, it's on. You almost can't not.
Yeah.
And like you say, it is draining. And I sometimes feel the same. I don't want to talk to everyone at a party. On a stage, there's almost a singular focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mom used to tell me, she's like, you love being the center of it. You always the life of the party and stuff. I said, not at a party. I like sitting and having a really strong conversation with one person.
Same. Yeah.
And I know a lot of singers who are like that. And I think it's, with a stage, there's a singular focus.
So interesting.
It's a weird way of looking at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I'm sure I'm talking complete bollocks, but
no,
I really want to find a psychologist. So if you know anyone who's up, or I want to find someone who's a specialist in ADD and who's thought about, or specialist in ADD and musicians would be huge, because I haven't seen content about it that much.
Ooh, let's do some research.
Let's find it, because I think an interview on that would be really, really interesting. But yeah, so that's like, this is great fun. And I think it's useful. I mean, I know I like having podcasts while driving, although not many musicians are back to it yet, but like, I like having podcasts on in the background and just random chat like this.
I've just started, I do a lot of my learning, I suppose, in the car. No, it used to be learning songs and stuff in the car. And that's when I'd learn most of it. But now I love listening to podcasts and just getting more insight into things. And I think I'm thinking of starting my own, but that's another thing that I know I'll probably hyper focus on. So I need to.
But it's exactly that. You're like, I can start it, but can I continue it?
Exactly.
Well, it's fine. If you want to team up, do Cover Monkeys, and we can just. One thing I'd like to do, but again, this is the thing I'm really struggling with, or finding that balance with, is I'd love, and that's why Ghosts of You was so great, is because I was like, get on board. This is not for me.
Yeah.
You know, let's work this project to raise money for this. And it was so much easier. But when it's like my venture, whether it's my band or my this, I'm like, come support my thing or be part of my thing. Let's make it our thing. Even that, it's still harder. But like for Cover Monkeys, I know I can't do it on my own. I can't do it consistently long term. So, but I like the concept. I like the thing. So yeah, I mean, maybe we can chat after.
Yeah, we went up for something like that.
Yeah, see, and that way, I do think what keeps things going, and that's why musicians who are signed maybe get further, whatever, what keeps things going or makes things great is teams, because the best things will out. Or when one person falters, the other person picks up the slack.
Yeah.
And that's, the more you grow, the more people you have on board with a project, the more likely it is to keep going.
Definitely. And it's accountability as well. So definitely. I found that trying to do stuff on my own, not having accountability, like with the business courses I've been doing, we have like Facebook groups and pods within the Facebook groups. So you're like in a team of like 10 people. And so that you kind of get it done because you don't want to let people down, or you've just got someone that you're
or you've put the money towards it, you know, you're paying for this course, so you're going to do it. Well, that's why I went to BIM, because I was like, everyone said to me, you can do this on your own. You've got more time. Don't put the, student loan against your name. I was like, but I'm not doing it on my own.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that I can't motivate myself, I can't. But I know that I function well once I've done that. And so sometimes
people just need a bit of structure as well.
Structure and accountability.
Yeah.
And priority. You prioritize it because you put the money there. But like when you're forced to make those priority decisions every day, it's really hard.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, so moving on. We'll have a quick chat after we sort of quote unquote end the podcast, which hopefully will come out right and I figure out how to get the recording in good quality.
I hope it's not just me shuffling on it. I'm terrible for that.
Oh no, I shuffle all the time. There was one podcast where I realized I put my elbow on the table and it just, or I had I knew I couldn't do it, but the friend I was with kept putting her elbows on the table and I was like, elbows, like don't, because it made a really loud noise, but I haven't heard any loud noise come through so far. So we'll figure it out.
Okay,
but
cool.
Yes, thank you for chatting with me. This has been so lovely.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I think you should definitely do, or we should, or whatever, a video specifically talking about having a kid in music and how that's affected you as a creative parent and being a single parent, and yeah, that line between responsibility and vocation. Is that the word?
Ooh, good word. Yeah.
Yes. We learned things in high school.
Doing better than me with your words today.
You're doing fine. Have you done a lot of interviews like this?
No.
This is something as well that I wanted to do the podcast for, even if because I wanted to do something that didn't have an end goal. So just before we end, I'll close out on this. The reason why I created it is because I wanted something that was done for the sake of now, because everyone goes, and maybe I was wrong, because if you don't have a monetary gain from it or aim, then it's sometimes harder to keep going with it. Whereas if I maybe had got a sponsor on board earlier on, but I was kind of like, I'd rather build something for the sake of building something good and then be like, okay, I think this is a strong enough set of content to move forward with. But the biggest thing is I thought, well, at the end of it, even if it's just cool conversations with people I admire and I learn a lot from or connect with, then that's valuable. So therefore the work isn't for naught.
Yeah. Totally.
And if it's cool conversations that one person listens to, great. You know, I've always enjoyed a performance where one table's into it. Doesn't bother me whether it's 1 or 10. I'd rather have one interested party than 100 who don't really care that much.
I think you learn a lot about yourself as well. Like even the stuff I've been coming out with myself today, you're just like, oh, I do have an opinion on that. Or yeah, that is kind of
what do I think about that?
Really
and I think cool. I quite like the long form podcast because often we don't get proper conversations in life. It's just, how are you? What's this? Oh, how's the weather? Bollocksy bits and imagery. Yeah. So I thought I wanted to do that. And as well, there's the idea of what I didn't realize, because I was never scared of it, because I can talk bollocks for ages and I just put it out there and ignore it. Listening back is another story, but like a lot of musos were like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. And I went, what? Like,
I know, I'm totally more nervous about something like this than going on stage.
Yeah.
Lives, Facebook lives, because they're just there, aren't they?
Well, the difficulty with Facebook lives or YouTube or video things at all, putting that out there, is that I haven't done the live streaming performance thing, is because, and I'm sure you're the same, you base your performance on the energy that's there.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very different medium when you're creating something that will stay there.
Yeah.
B, where you're not getting the feedback. So like there, I'm like, oh, I need to do something impressive. In a live state, no, I need to entertain you. I don't need to impress you. I need to entertain you. And that's a very different art form to me.
Yeah.
Or make you feel
bizarre. I kind of felt pressure, like I should do it because everyone's doing it, and I'd kind of like to do it a little bit, but also I don't have the time or the environment to be able to do it. Like my son wouldn't let me do it if he was here.
Right.
He'd just be like,
although they would probably love that. But again, it's again that thing of priority and focus, and it's like it's another overwhelming factor in your brain.
Yeah.
And do you actually want to do it, or do you want to do it because you feel you should? And a lot of musicians have been feeling that in this time as well, being like, I have the time, I should be using it all.
Yeah.
You know, and then you feel guilty, and then you're like, and then you feel less inclined to do anything useful. And it's really hard to know what to put your efforts towards.
Oh my goodness, there's so much we could talk about.
Yeah, no, we could go on for 10.
I'm going to go away now and just write a load of topics that I think we need to talk about.
I think that's a really good idea. And maybe, we'll, anyway, so we'll end this chat here and then we'll have a quick discussion of maybe some ideas we have. But thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And if you have listened to the podcast, please come back. I think we'll be doing more stuff. I think hopefully me and Joe will be doing more creativities. I think we both have idea brains right now. And look forward to doing more. If there's anything you want to chat with us about, my socials are at Roxy Sound, RXISOUND, on Instagram and Facebook. And Josephine, yours are?
I have The Noise Ents, which is my band, and I also, if you search Musicians Helping Musicians with Josephine Ellul, that's the new music group.
Lovely. And you have, so Musicians Helping Musicians with Josephine Ellul. And it's good. Doesn't matter. Like I said, attentive, small audience rather than millions of people. And as well, it's specific, so it's searchable. You don't just get a million of the same page of what are the bands.
Be able to say it. I can never say it. If I do like a live stream now, I'll go, "Hi, it's Joe from blah, 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 blah."
That famous lyric. It's the most famous lyrics. But yeah, so and search on at Cover Monkeys, or on Instagram it's Monkeys Cover, because I somehow fucked it up. Or it didn't have it. I don't remember. I swear I put Cover Monkeys, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, fuck. But there's also a YouTube series where I've got lots of interviews, like a mishmash of interviews with different musos, saying their favorite wedding gig or the most annoying thing audience members do. So check that out at Cover Monkeys on YouTube. I'll hopefully be doing more, because maybe Joe has kicked my ass into gear. Anyway, speak soon, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
That's